There's a paradox that many capable women eventually notice. The very qualities that helped us build good lives can also become the reason that life starts to feel heavy. The being capable and responsible and being the one that can figure things out, those strengths solve problems. They create stability, they help people. And over time, they can turn really into something else, an expectation to carry more than anyone ever intended. In the last video, we talked about how capability attracts responsibility and how the more capable someone is, the more things tend to flow their direction. So today, let's look at the next layer of that pattern. What happens when competence stops being a strength that we use and starts becoming a role that we live inside? Because see, that's where many of us find ourselves later in life. Inside what could be called the competence trap. See, competence is a beautiful strength. It means that we can solve problems and navigate complexity, and we can really handle difficult situations. And those difficult situations, in handling that, our competence gets noticed. People trust us with more. We have then, of course, more decisions and more responsibility and more things that need to be handled. And at first, that feels good. It feels like we are meaningful and useful, and it feels like our contributions to life matter. Then gradually, something else happens, and that is that competence stops being something that we do, and it becomes instead something that we are. We become that reliable one, the capable one, and the one that people can count on. And once identity attaches to this role, it becomes very hard to step outside of it. The competence trap forms when capability becomes the reason that we carry more than anyone else. It's not because anyone demanded it, it's because it works. If someone knows that they can count on us to figure something out, they will. They'll let us figure it out. If someone knows that we will notice what needs attention, they'll rely on that awareness. If someone notices that we will handle things responsibly, they're going to trust us with more. And gradually, the system organizes itself around that pattern. So competence becomes the solution to many problems. And the capable person becomes the one holding that system together. So one of the reasons that this competence trap is so hard to see is because it looks responsible. From the outside, it often looks admirable. We're reliable and disciplined and committed, and we are often praised for these qualities. And then that praise reinforces the pattern. So the system keeps working exactly the same way. The capable person carries more, the system relies on that capacity, and then life keeps moving forward. So we often have this automatic figure it out reflex. And that competence trap shows up really in ways that we barely notice. Even finding an example of it can be tricky. I was thinking back of, what are some experiences that I've had that automatic response was evident. And here's an example that I have. I had a friend who was having a difficult financial situation. naturally the conversation turned towards helping her really, think through some options that were available. Could we help her find some financing? Could we connect her with someone? Why, was what might really help stabilize things? And eventually, we did help her secure some financing. And through another connection, a friend of ours needed some help. And so her husband began doing some work there. Problem was identified, problem was solved. What struck me later was how automatic that whole process had been. There was a problem. And immediately my brain went to, how do we fix this? How can we figure this out? How can we make this work? No one really asked me to solve it. That competence tends to move in the direction automatically. Nobody asked, and yet I was ready, willing, and able to jump in. So along with this comes kind of an invisible pressure. When competence becomes identity, then something else forms, and it's expectation. The expectation that we will figure it out, handle it, solve the problem, make the thing work. And when that expectation becomes internalized, we begin to hold ourselves to that same standard. Even when the situation isn't ours to solve, even when the problem isn't ours to carry, even when the weight has become too heavy. So for many of us, this pattern really begins to become visible somewhere in this midlife realm when life is changing. It's still functioning and it's changing. So the responsibilities are still being handled, and something inside of us begins asking different questions like, why am I always the one figuring this out? Why does so much depend on me? Maybe even why does stepping back feel so uncomfortable? It can feel uncomfortable even thinking about stepping back, because another question can be, why does it feel like things will fall apart if I stop carrying them? Those questions often signal a really important moment of awareness, and that's recognizing that capability and responsibility have merged together. The competence trap doesn't usually break people. It more often wears them down slowly. It's the constant awareness and problem solving and responsibility that is always scanning and anticipating and managing. And when the system runs this way long enough, exhaustion begins to appear. And it's not because someone's weak. It's not because it's too big. It really is because no system was really meant to rely on one person indefinitely. Now, there's a reason that community is necessary. So the shift begins when we separate two things that have been living together for a long time, and that is capability and responsibility. Capability is a strength. Responsibility is something that could, I would even go so far as to say, should be shared. And once we begin noticing that difference, then something opens up. We can remain capable, and we no longer have to carry everything. So here's something to notice this week. Pay attention to the moments when you automatically start solving a problem, handling a situation, stepping in to make something work. And pause for a moment. Ask yourself the question, is this mine to solve? Or is this simply a moment where my competence noticed something first? That small pause can really reveal more than we expect. Give yourself the opportunity to sit in it, to be quiet with it, to notice it. Many of us as capable women built meaningful lives through responsibility and discipline and problem solving. And those strengths matter. They help us build stability and they help us support people that we love. And over time, those same strengths can turn into an expectation to carry more than we should. This second half of life often brings a different kind of awareness. And that is that we can remain capable and we no longer have to carry everything. Capability stays, the weight begins to shift. So curious for you about what you learn in just these noticings, just the pause. What would it be like if the weight wasn't all on you?